Okay. And when the fight broke out, which was pretty brutal, in the end, instead of helping these two people that had come in, she helped Luke. And this led to her actually taking a life. What was her mindset in doing that?
That's when she starts to identify more with Luke and watching him protect her. Um, and he's the only safe, quote unquote, safe thing that she has. So if he leaves, she doesn't know what's going to happen to her. So she can't stand the thought of letting him die with she has no idea where she is, what's out there. Is she going to die out there? He's keeping her alive, so she needs him to be alive too.
And while he was disposing of the bodies, she was left to clean up the blood and the broken shelves and stuff like that. Did this have an impact on her that she had helped kill a living person and the realization that she's alone in the house with the fact that she had just killed somebody?
Uh, you will see that again. This will
Later,
play
okay.
a larger part later.
All right, then we'll save it for later. Um, and then during this next stretch of the story, we got into a routine, right? Every day she would make breakfast. She would follow certain rules that she'd either set for herself or that he had set for her, like the hugging and the kissing before eating, and the jogging, of course, her favorite activity,
Uh,
which had all become routine at this point. Why do you think she dislikes jogging so much?
because it's physical labor and she doesn't like anything that requires her to do physical work. Um, Also, she's not really built to run. She's like I mean she's slender, she's athletically built, but it's not because she ran. It's because she ate really well, um, and was very conscious of her figure through food. So him making her run, she hates getting hot. So the fact that she's sweating, and I feel like 95, oh no, at least 7% of the time she throws up on these runs. So
Yes.
she also doesn't like that. So because she's not used to running, it's really hot, pushes her, and it's just not a good time. So she could, I feel like at this point she'd probably break her own legs so she doesn't have to run anymore.
Do you think that it's made her healthier though? Now that she's eating heavier foods and she's jogging every day, she's got more strenuous activities. Do you think this has helped with her overall health compared to where she was before?
I think the biggest thing, and this would be yet again a hypothetical, if she got into a situation where she had to run away from somebody, that now she's like trained to run, so I feel like she wouldn't get tired because last time she got tired and slowed down, because she just couldn't keep going and she wasn't used to running long distances for long periods, where now is getting used to that. So in a hypothetical situation, if she was running from somebody, now she can.
Right. One of the things that we didn't talk about that we should quickly, briefly touch base on is that she did end up getting pregnant, and this was another horrible, horrific scene where she had taken it upon herself to rid herself of this pregnancy, and this has brought into some drama with any future speaking of children. She kind of shuts down. Is this How did this horrific incident affect her?
So she eventually figured out that she was putting on weight, even though she wasn't really eating a whole lot. I think Luke comments on it at one point, and she's like, "Oh crap." Um, so she ends up, yet again, the disclaimer piece, because technically it is an abortion. I didn't know if we were allowed to write on it or not, but I did. Um, but I was very vague. But with what she does is that she takes the mattress coil, and I did do a lot of research on this to make sure how to do it without killing yourself. There's a certain way you have to do it, which is how she did it with the mattress coil. Um, but she is very lucky that she did not kill herself, and eventually did abort the child. And deep down, she knows that she killed it. She's very aware that she did, but she has repressed this thought so far back in her mind that she can't get a hold of it anymore. So anytime Luke brings up being a mom, that subconscious wall is like shook, and she can't figure out consciously why, but she notices that she starts to feel very unwell, that it hits deeper than it probably should. Um, and it was all setting up for things that I plan on doing later to make it a lot more traumatic for when that point comes, because how deeply invested she now is with the idea of being a mom.
And so Luke has this broken concept of a perfect relationship, and that's what he's trying to create. And in a perfect relationship, every day after they eat dinner, they always kiss and hug before they eat, and then they take their showers and their baths. And before she goes to sleep, she's being forced to watch a movie. And I wanted to know, like, she's obviously dislikes horror movies and so forth, but why do you think Luke finds this movie so important for Ophelia to watch every night? It's a different movie.
I think she thinks that he wants her to be, I think he's mentioned it, like he wants her to be cultured, because she never really went to the movies. She never watched movies. She always had books, because going to the cinema was frowned upon as an Adeline. So she never really went. I think he asked her at the beginning, like, "Oh, have you seen this?" She's like, "Yeah, I don't really watch movies." He's like, "Oh, no, 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 we'll fix that."
So let me see here. I'm looking at some of the questions, and I think we've already gone over some of these. But how normalized do you think the mental control that he's trying to impress on her is now? Because there's the torture's almost completely gone. Now it's just physical abuse, emotional, psychological. But he's really starting to try and push mind control on her. You can't trust these people. This is how life is. This is what life is, and so forth. How much of an impact do you think that's having on her at this point in the story?
She's almost completely stopped trusting men outside of him now. Like she did talk to a woman in the restaurant, but she struggles to talk to any man who's not Luke at this point. Um, you could say it's because of the cabin hoppers, because of Luke in general, because of just the talk about her father. Um, she is terrified of men, and is beginning to learn that everything that he says has to be right, because why at this point would he lie to her? Because yet again, the delusion is now in place that he's doing this because he cares, and she's constantly making excuses for him as to why he's doing the things that he's doing, which is very typical in abusive relationships where the victim uh,
Right, and he's
makes
really
everything
cloaked all
better.
this in that she was sick, that she was being poisoned by other people, that she was being poisoned by these people constantly, uh, negatively influencing her. And he's used examples of how they did this to her, why she was so unhappy, why she was so miserable. And he's kind of reinforcing this behavior. Is she believing that?
I think she's beginning to. She's learning not to trust certain people. When the woman grabbed her in the restaurant, that was a big flag. The way the lawyer guy looked at her, she did not like that, because she can't tell why people are doing what they're doing. And then I guess if you even include Damien, you she
We'll
doesn't
talk
know what's going
about
on.
Damien in some detail soon.
I like Damien. He's fun. I like him a lot.
Okay, so one of the other things Ophelia started doing was cutting herself. She started this habit in the basement, but as soon as she was taken upstairs and she was given access to a razor, she immediately, right in front of him, cut herself again. Why is that a thing?
So in the basement, it was because she was in a void, so she wanted to feel alive. So she began digging with her nails into her wrists and into her ankles, until she felt blood. So it's she wanted to feel something, the heat of the blood, how it felt between her fingers, the way that her skin felt being ripped open. She enjoyed that feeling, and pain, because it told her that she was still alive. Once she was upstairs, the cutting was because she felt she deserved to feel pain again. She had to feel pain. She needed to see the blood. She had to do these things as a compulsive activity. Yeah, I feel like Ophelia has developed OCD as I'm sitting here like going through the criteria in my brain, like, no.
um, when he had to go back to town, she had been upstairs now for almost 2.5, 3 weeks. And he finally had to go back into town to get supplies, and he locked her in the basement. And this had a massive impact on her. Why was that, and how did that affect all the trust he had started to build, and so forth?
Well, now she's back down in the basement, and she viewed it as she had done something wrong. That she had failed. Her rules were broken. They were fractured. There was holes. It was all her fault. He didn't care. Um, I think the Dark Man's down there just being a freak, whispering things, doing things. Can't exactly handle it, so she regresses fairly far back. With being sent back down there.